Hey there internet, name's Nigel and today I'm going to teach you about the world of Harajuku fashion. Specifically, I'll be talking about the history, what it is, and the effects of media both forward and backwards. And I'm joined with... Where did she... Okay, never mind, I'm doing this alone. Something first to clear up though. Harajuku can refer to two things, the style of fashion and the actual place in Shibuya. For this video when I say Harajuku, I mean fashion, while the actual place will be referred to as Shibuya. Also, Shibuya is a special ward of Tokyo, like how New York has different boroughs. So, for the origins of Harajuku, we have to go back in time to World War II. During this time, GIs were stationed in Japan, and with them came the culture of the West, and the Japanese were enraptured. Trends like rockabilly and pinup were common to be seen, while the more traditional clothes were kept for ceremonial and special occasions. With this spark of Western inspiration began the fire that Japan needed to reinsert itself as a cultural landmark. Of course, the world wouldn't really notice until 1964 and the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. After this, Japan kept importing, adopting, and modifying Western fashion trends, creating styles like Hiroshima chic, until fashion hit an escalation point in the 1980s. For Japan, the 80s were a time of experimentation and inspiration. During that time, there was a rising cuteness in Japan, and a mix with natural kai, which emphasized a more natural feel, and it took heavy inspiration from the Victorian era, and with the rising DIY fashion, created what is formally named in 1987 as Lolita. The largest source of this trend was none other than Shibuya. The experimental fashion trends didn't stop there, with the development of other fashion subcultures like visual kai, gyaru, body conscious, and b-boy, marking the 90s in Japan as their golden age of fashion. And finally, there's one more recent notable fashion trend, Decora. Did someone say Decora? Yeesh! Did you just rob a Claire's? How long did putting all that even? 2 hours. Now seems like a good time to actually talk about the different styles. For the time's sake, we'll only talk about some of the major styles from Harajuku fashion trends, starting with Lolita. Also, each of these styles have their own subgroups, but I'll mostly be talking about the typical features of the default style that people normally think of or associate with the style. Like I said before, Lolita fashion takes many inspiration from the Victorian era clothing, such as the laces, frills, and very noticeably, the skirt. Since this was around the time cuteness was in demand, much of the Lolita fashion involves bright and cute colors with a heavy prominence on pink. What this trend does is try to capture a sense of innocence and childlike fantasy. Next up is the gyaru style, which is often seen as an exaggeration of an American teenager. They have heavily bleached hair and dramatic makeup, though the actual clothing varies from subgroup to subgroup. Though not everything is bright and cheery in their fashion, like visual kai. You can think of this like the Japanese version of glam rock, since it did take inspiration from people like David Bowie. These people wear elaborate costumes, hairstyle, and makeup, often ending up with an androgynous appearance. But going back to the bright and colorful is Decora, demonstrated here by my assistants. There isn't really any specific required traits like the other styles to be considered decor, except to have a lot of accessories. From hair clips to ornaments to even dental masks, pretty much anything and everything can be used for decor style. This isn't too different from how the punk movement used everyday objects in their fashion to identify themselves, like the infamous safety pins. Both subcultures push against the mainstream and try very, very hard to be in your face. And, like punk, the fashion styles of Harajuku didn't just become popular by itself, but it was the media that gave it the push to popularity. While punk had things such as the New York Rocker, Take It, and plenty of fanzines. The Harajuku scene had their own notable ways of spreading awareness. 2 particular magazines were often cited as being big influences. These were Fruits by Shuichi Akoi and Cutie, published by Takara Jimasa Incorporated. These magazines were focused on showcasing the fashion and predominantly featured photographs of people rather than the interviews like the New York Rocker. That isn't to say that the music scene isn't important to Harajuku. On the contrary, music was a massive influence. Visual kai, for example, originated from the music scene and later adopted by the fans. Musicians and idols were very important to the Japanese at the time, and still are, so fashion styles shown off by them quickly catch the attention of the fans. One notable J-pop singer who recently caught the public attention is Kiari Pamu Pamu, who uses the decor style in her performances and music videos. We've also seen Harajuku take hold of music here in the West, with songs like Avril Lavigne's Hello Kitty and Gwen Stefani's Harajuku Girls. Though, With Japan being known in the West for anime and video games, these have also influenced the West's perception of fashion over in Japan. It's important to note that while these styles are very prominent in Japan, they aren't popular, meaning that they aren't that common of a fashion style. Much of Japan emphasizes the group over the individual, and highly regards order and command. I mean, Japan is known to have subways and trains so packed, people literally need to be pushed together like sardines to fit. Imagine trying to have someone with a large Lolita skirt in there, much less a bunch of them. There are still a lot of people who wear Harajuku styles of fashion, they just aren't the majority of the population. And that's part of what made Harajuku unique. It was supposed to be a counterculture against the strict and restrained style of the mainstream in Japan. It's an expression of freedom and individuality. In Harajuku fashion, the focus is less about what you're wearing and more how you're wearing it. It's all about being you and being yourself, not trying to outdo each other like in the West. It's about showing your lifestyle, telling a story of you and how you live. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat brief overview of Harajuku fashion. Thank you for watching!